What's up guys, my name is Daniel, and this is my YouTube channel, Mute the Pianos. So, as you might have guessed, this is a channel where I talk about music. Albums, songs, artists, you name it. I also do my own music, kind of dark ambient stuff, but primarily this is for reviewing music. Music has always been a huge passion of mine, and especially lately, I felt that I wanted somewhere to talk about it. So that's what I'm going to be doing on this channel. Mainly going to be talking about new albums that have just come out, albums from this year, but also trying to do some classic albums, albums that are really special to me, and albums that I just really want to talk about. And so actually, my first album review coming out Thursday this week is going to be of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, just because it's such an important album, an album that everybody knows, and so I feel like it will be really interesting to talk about it and get my take on it. But that brings me to the main thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, and that is how I rate and rank albums. So, I rate an album on a scale of 1 to 10, including decimals. So, a 0 is an album that's pretty much unlistenable, there's no good songs on it, and a 10 out of 10 album is an album that I feel like is a perfect work of art, or as perfect as you can get when you're talking about art. An album that I feel has achieved its purpose pretty much perfectly, that I wouldn't want changed in any sort of way. But the thing is that every album kind of sets out to do something different. Some albums are just kind of made to be a collection of songs, you know, just some nice trap songs, pop songs, whatever. Some albums are more deep and conceptual and tie together the album in a more strong way. And I feel like that ambition is really important when you're talking about music and isn't something that should go by without being noticed. And so I feel like rating and ranking are two different things. I couldn't really give a 10 out of 10 to an album that I feel like has one or two tracks that aren't perfect. For example, something like Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition. I don't like two tracks, Gold Dust or Get High. But the rest of the album, I think, is absolutely incredible. Really one of the most ambitious rap albums I've ever heard in my life, and one of my favorites of all time. So it feels kind of unfair to me that I can't give it a 10 out of 10, even though it's really not, because I don't think it's a perfect work of art. Whereas something like The Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour, I do think is a 10 out of 10. I think every song on it is exactly how it should be. It's a perfect pop album. But I think Atrocity Exhibition is far better than Magical Mystery Tour because of its ambition. So when I'm comparing albums between each other, I don't really take the rating into effect as much as you might think. It's much more about what the album strives to be. Of course, it is important to judge whether it was successful in doing that or not. For example, something like Sufjan Stevens' Carrie and Lowell, which I think is a beautiful and heartbreaking album and is incredibly emotionally potent in what it sets out to be, but at the same time grows kind of redundant and stale the more that you get into it. So while I might not rank it that high at around a 6 or a 7, I would still say that it is an incredible album overall because of the power of what it wants to achieve and what it does with the songs that I think are really amazing. Because that's the thing, some albums have songs that are truly just perfect, some of the best songs that I've ever heard in my life. You know, like Prefab Sprouts' I Troll the Megahertz. The first song on that, one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. The rest of the album, however, I think is a little bit spotty. So I couldn't really give it that 10 out of 10 score, because there's a few songs there and there where I think the compositions are a little stale. But I would still rank it up extremely high because of that first song, which I think is truly an incredible feat. So yeah, that's kind of my thought process going into things. There's the concept, the ambition behind an album, what it wants to be, which I think is incredibly important, but there's also what it actually ends up doing, how it actually ends up achieving that concept. And I think that both of those ideas are super important when it comes to discussing music. So my 0 to 10 scale is on if it was successful in doing what it wanted to do and being a amazing just collection of songs, being an amazing concept album, being whatever the artist wanted it to be and whatever the work of art stands for. Whereas when I'm comparing it to other albums and looking at it in a grander scheme of musical history, I'm looking more at just that ambition by itself, not necessarily as much whether it succeeded or not. While that still plays into the argument, I think that there's something huge to be said about the ambition that goes into an album. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I rate and rank albums. It might change over time, in which case I'll probably update this video. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I hope you keep a watch out for my Dark Side of the Moon review coming out later this week. And have a great rest of your day, everyone.